Hey, look out. It's Faith Talk Live. I'm Rick Probst.
And I'm Dan Ratcliffe.
Hey, what a pleasure to talk to this guy, Chris Maxwell, pastor, author. It's been a while. How are you, Chris?
I'm doing really good. It's great to be back with you guys.
We appreciate your time. We wanted to catch up with you, make sure, first of all, everybody is healthy at your house. How's everybody doing?
Yeah, we're doing well. Thankful for that. My wife has been through a year of major health issues, but she's doing well now, and she's been teaching. Of course, we're all teaching online, a different method of teaching, but I'm very thankful that she's doing well. Yeah, it's been an interesting season for us and for so many people with a lot going on. It's like a year ago, my father-in-law passed away. A month ago, my dad passed away. And then in the middle of this, all of the uncertainty that we're going through, but the Lord is with us in the middle of it all.
So sorry for the passings. You say you're teaching online now. Have you guys adjusted pretty well? Is that something you had done before and it was an easy fix, or did you had to work all the bugs out for you guys?
Not an easy fix, but adjusting. I don't know that it would be past tense that we have adjusted. I think it's a continuing adventure, this life of adjusting for so many people. Such a high percentage of my role at Emmanuel College is pastoral care and time with the students. So I'm trying to do that, whatever method is best for them, if it's just phone, FaceTime, Zoom, whatever works, to see how they're doing, to check on them and to be there for them.
Now, doing that role, I mean, students, they can probably tend to go either way. They can possibly be really scared, or they could be like, it's just another thing that we're facing. How are they reacting? What are you hearing from them?
Well, Dan, you described it just right. There's a variety of responses to this, and that's why we have to be very sensitive and caring to the student, or like pastors, the people that you're ministering to. It's not like a general statement that fits everyone in the audience, because each person responds differently, and their environment. I'm talking to many students. They will have one computer in a house of parents and 3 children, and then both parents working now at home. And are we going to force them to turn in an assignment at this time that we originally assumed would be the right fit, when everything is different now? And then with Debbie teaching elementary school in a small town in Northeast Georgia, where a computer is not something that all families have, and we need to be very sensitive to that.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, we're extremely blessed. You made me think about it now. Everybody here at the house, all 4 of us, we all have computers. We're just wrestling over Wi-Fi. So so far, Donna, my wife, wins every single time. That's just the way it goes.
As it should be, right?
Chris Maxwell, author, pastor, and part of Emmanuel College there, pastoral care, and a lot of influence on the students, and we appreciate him so much. Chris, let's talk about Embracing Now, your latest book. It's about, it's really full of poetry, right? It's pain, joy, healing, living. Is this something you put together before all of the challenges that you've had, or during?
Well, this is my 10th book, and it's my second collection of poems. The book of poetry before this was like a collection of poems. It's called The Slow and Sudden God, 40 Years of Wonder. And those were poems that were written over like 4 decades of my life, which means I'm old, but that's but this one was very different. It's 100 poems, a variety of lengths and styles, mainly free verse poetry, different moods, rhythms. But as we were processing it, Embracing Now wasn't my original title in the draft, but I've talked to you guys about it before. Sometimes the title that you need as a writer is not the same title that the publisher will need when the book comes out for the readers, for that audience.
Yeah.
But there's just kind of this ongoing theme, no matter the mood, tone, length of the poems. It was the importance of this moment. Let's not miss now as we're pushing forward and diving into the future, or as we're dwelling on the past, adjusting to pains from the past or hopes for the future. Let's embrace the now. And so poetry is a wonderful method of doing that anyway, because it slows our pace. Instead of us rushing from point to point and sentence to sentence, we have to slow to grasp, to understand, to receive and respond to that. And so poetry is wonderful therapy for me personally, and helping students journal in poetic and rhythmic form. I mean, such a high percentage of the Bible is poetic in form. We often forget that. Like 1/3 of our biblical text is written in that motion and rhythm of flow of poetry. So embracing now has reminded me the importance, as we're going through this season of pain that we have gone through, that many of us have gone through, even before knowing we were about to enter this new season of uncertainty, the importance of embracing now.
Mm.
Chris, you started to touch on it, what poetry does. Now, if I tried to sit down and write a poem, I would go crazy because I'd be trying to rhyme everything and I'd have to get it just right. And it wouldn't be very relaxing for me. But for some people, it can be very relaxing, very cathartic. What does poetry writing do for you and for your soul?
Well, that's a very good question. Well, you guys know that I live with epilepsy and live with brain damage. And, you know, as you're trying to adjust and find new ways of learning, like neuroplasticity, poetry is one method of doing that, because it's thinking differently. It is not always going to be noun, verb. You know, it's this rhythm and flow, and it's more how life is. I mean, remember a few years ago, I guess a year and a half ago, part of the interstate right there in Atlanta was damaged, and as I was driving to the airport, I had to take a different route, and I couldn't go my normal quickest route to the airport. I had to go this long way around, and that's how life is. And poetry often is like that. Instead of us just rushing from here to there, we don't have to rhyme it, but there is often, in the beauty of writing, in the flow and the thought, we take a longer route, but there's beauty there. We can notice a beautiful verb that can reveal things that we often ignore. And poetry does that. It invites us, okay, slow the pace. Chris, don't be in such a hurry. You have goals, you have an agenda. But, you know, like my other books, pause. This poetry helps you pause. And Eugene Peterson writes about poetry, and he says, read it again, read it again, read it again. As he describes it, those are his final sentences in the description of poetry, because it is different than prose, and it works the brain differently.
Chris Maxwell, we're talking about his book, and it's called Embracing Now, Pain, Joy, Healing, Living. And I'm sure you can get it at chrismaxwell.me and Amazon as well. Chris, on your website, I noticed that you're going to be speaking in August. I think it's August 23rd at Resurrection Church. Are you going to, what will be your message, you think, after post, let's call it post-COVID? Will it be any different, do you think?
Well, I'll probably preach about 30 messages, because all of my speaking engagements. So I can summarize that in a short poem. But yeah, there's a lot of study I'm doing now in the book of Acts. I'm just kind of going through the biblical passages through the early church, just thinking of what can we learn from them and live that in the now. And then much of the emphasis I'm going to be giving in the fall in different places I'm speaking is this beauty of moving from the singular to the plural. Let's not live in isolation. Let's live in community. And as we're thinking about how that happens now, because I'm here, you know, each of you guys are in different places.
Yeah.
But wait a minute, we're still together. We're having a conversation together, and I want the church to be the church. This situation has affected our Sunday morning church services, but maybe it has invited us to the table of deeper dialogue and honest conversations. When we can't stare at a stage and see what's happening, we can have someone that maybe we will talk to in deeper ways. That's my hope, and I'm hoping to emphasize that in a variety of ways. I believe poetry can be a part of that. As you look at the Psalms and you think about David's honesty. Okay, David was writing these poems as his personal prayer to the Lord. They became national hymns, and they are for us the Psalms. So it started in the singular. You know, David, individual prayer from a cave to God is hope. But then a nation, and then us. That would be a nice takeaway, in my opinion, for all of us as followers of Christ.
Wow.
All right.
Well, you do feel his heart in the Psalms, don't you?
Yeah.
The honesty, the transparency, just authentic rhythm and flow of reality.
I know for me, I try to read a few Psalms a day, not the entire Psalms, but just pieces. And I used to just blow right through them. And I decided a few years back, okay, I need to stop. That's my personality is just to go, you know.
Right.
So I said, I'm going to intentionally read every word and think on it. And it has truly enriched my life. And I mean, if I do it over and over again throughout the years, different translations. It is deep stuff. You can't sit down and eat it in one sitting. It's a lifetime of good stuff.
Yeah,
you're right, Rick. So good for you to be doing that.
All right, new book. Check it out. Embracing Now, Pain, Joy, Healing, Living. Chris Maxwell, chrismaxwell.me. Chris, such a pleasure. Blessings to you.
Blessings.
Always good to see you.
It's great to be with y'all. Thank you so much for what you're doing. I appreciate you both.
All right, we'll be right back. I'm Rick Probst.
And I'm Dan Ratcliffe.
This is Faith Talk Live.